Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop. And tonight I've got a question from a viewer on these snappers, questioning my education or qualifications of telling you when it's time to change your axles or your bushings. How do I know when they're wore out? Well, it's hard to answer any of your questions when I don't have the machine sitting in front of me to look at it. I'm going strictly by what you tell me you're looking at. And different people have different ways of expressing what they're looking at. On any part of the machine, the clutch or the yoke or the springs, the biggest question I get is, my tractor quit moving forward. It doesn't move backwards. The biggest problem with these snappers is the spring on the yoke. Tighten that sucker up and you're not going to have any trouble with it moving forward or backwards. That is the biggest issue I have. But as far as telling you that your bushings or your axles need to be replaced, I'm going strictly on the information I get from you. The next video, which I'm going to try to do tomorrow, is going to be showing you how to check yourself if your bushing or axle needs to be replaced. I've had classes on bearing removal and installation. I bought all my own bearing tools for pulling them, installing them. I've also covers shaft, axles, seals, and lip seals. And let's not forget Babbitt bearings. Any of you guys know what a Babbitt bearing is or how to pour one? That's right, you pour a Babbitt bearing. This class covers ball bearings, roller bearings, and bushings. I recalled my instructor and I talked to him. I had said, refresh my memory, Bruce. What is the factory specifications on slop on a bushing, a bearing, now that's a ball bearing or a roller bearing, and a lip seal? And you're not going to believe how little that is. The hair on your head, most humans, is 3/1000ths of an inch in diameter. The allowable tolerance, now this is on a industry standard bushing. Now I don't know who's making the bushings for snapper and what standards they're holding them to. But the industry standard is 1/1000th of an inch. That's 1/3 of the thickness of your hair. If you have 1/1000th of an inch of movement on a bushing or a bearing, it's time to replace it. Now I'm going to try to get this rear case tore apart tomorrow night. It's like 11:15 right now. And I'm going to show you a way to check it by using a indicator that you can buy at, what's this Chinese place everybody talks about? Harbor Freight sells cheap, well, they're definitely cheap, but I should say inexpensive indicators and a magnetic base. I'll be using one of mine and I'll show you how to check it yourself. Your axles as far as where the lip seal rides. You can have a good bushing and a good axle. If you're not getting proper lubrication on that axle through the bushing and out to the lip seal, that rubber lip seal will wear a groove in your axle. You got 1/1000th of an inch tolerance on that lip seal. If it wears into the shaft that much or more, you can start losing whatever you put in it. I use 80/90 gear lube. Now I've shown you pictures of snapper double-aught lube that's supposed to be so special when you tear apart a gear case, a chain case, a differential. This stuff is hardened up like grease. Well, it just happens. Let me grab this jug. I took my Blazer over to my mechanic and I said, the muffler needs fixing. And I said, I got this weird noise in the back end, this kind of popping, grinding noise when you go around a corner. Check that out. He calls me up at work and he said, Jim, you better come over after work. I got something to show you. Turns out my axle was bad. Now this is a 2001 Chevy Blazer. So this is 16 years old. The rear end, the transfer case, the transmission, the front end has never been touched. Never been changed. This is all factory lubricants in it. And they use 80/90 gear lube. I said, you got to pull the differential. I want the lubricant in this jug out of that differential. I want to show them what 16-year-old 80/90 gear lube looks like compared to this snapper stuff. Now, I've got some pictures of it. I've shown, let me grab one. What the heck? I don't know how good you're going to be able to see this, but this is that wonderful snapper double-aught lube. I don't see it moving at all. This was a chain case a viewer sent in and said, look, I just popped this apart and look at what this stuff looks like inside. He says, I can't even shake it out. Well, this is my 16-year-old 80/90 gear lube that came out of my car. How thick does that look to you? It looks about like it is when I buy it brand new. I don't know about you, but in my machine, I want a lubricant in there that the gears are going to throw around, get up on the axle, and actually run out and lubricate that bushing and that lip seal. But the choice is yours. I am not telling you what to use or how to change, or I should say when to change your bushing in your axle. I am going to show you how to check it yourself and you can decide. Now, if he wants to question my knowledge and education, I strongly suggest he looks in a mirror and questions his own education and knowledge. Because I'm not quite sure he knows everything he's talking about just on the way he talks about it. It just, you can tell I don't know. Maybe it's time he finds somebody else to help on their channel. But watch out for that video that's coming up. I sure hope I can do it tomorrow. And we're going to show you how to tear this thing apart and how to check it. And you can decide yourself if it needs replacing. So stay tuned. And I guess that's about it for now. Excuse me. So work safe, have fun, and let's cut some grass.